welcoming everyone. Thank you so much for taking time this morning to spend 30 minutes with us to talk a little bit about winning with on-demand services for Salesforce. It's actually a pretty timely and interesting topic, which is, of course, why you've joined. And I especially like to thank the folks in the cold Northeast. I see we have some folks from the Boston and New York areas. I know it's been insane there. Of course, you're probably stuck at home, so what else are you going to do? But anyway, let's chat a little bit about what we have today. First, some housekeeping. We are recording this, pardon me, so that you'll be able to access the recording. We'll send out a link. I know I get all choked up about this topic. We'll send out a link after the session to everyone that registered, and it'll be available on our website as well. Also, you'll see that you have a spot on the lower part of your screen there for asking questions. Hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A at the end, and I'll be able to respond to a few of those. If we don't, we will still collect all of the questions and send responses to everyone again that registered so that we'll be able to fill in all the gaps for you. So we'll do that. That's how you can communicate with me. All right, so let's talk about me. Who's your presenter today? Ooh, there's a scary picture. My name is Robert Schechterle. I'm the Vice President of On-Demand and Marketing here at Accelerize 360. And, why do we want to waste any time talking about me? Well, I want to use this to set the stage a little bit. I've been in the solutions space for many years and have seen it evolve. And that's kind of how we got to where we are today. I started in professional services and then moved to enterprise services, enterprise software actually, at companies like Oracle and PeopleSoft and Ariba, as well as some small companies, startups, if you will. And have witnessed and actually participated in the transition, the evolution from on-premise software and solutions to software as a service, and then to on-demand. And one of the big factors that came along in driving this was what we refer to as the consumerization of solutions, right? And if you think of Salesforce, they're the great example, and one of the reasons we're all here today, of consumerizing CRM, right? Taking B2C concepts, both in the sales and the delivery of those solutions, and applying them to B2B, to our everyday work in our businesses. And that evolution has continued. So not only have other companies joined Salesforce, but Salesforce has continued to evolve, as you all know, with all of your updates. I think I saw statistics, they've had 46 now major updates since the inception of their product. But that consumerization has now moved on to services, professional services. And that's what we want to talk about today, is how we take that same consumerization, that same B2C concept of identifying and selling and delivering services for Salesforce in an on-demand model. And that's what I've been a part of and what I've been seeing. Let's talk a little bit about who we are. After all, this is our webinar. You'd like to know who you're hearing from, right? It says we're a Codeforce 360 company. Codeforce has been around for a long time. They specialize in staff augmentation, as you can see here with statistics, large growing company, Fortune 500, mid-sized government entities, and small and medium-sized business. And I'm going to talk about that as I talk about the examples later of what we do and really illustrate that. A most promising company by Forbes. And you can see on the left, those are our partners, or a selection of our partners. And on the right, our logos from a selection of some of our Salesforce customers. Now, you're going to see a lot of big names there. And we certainly have done projects for some of the biggest of the big. But we also do a lot of work for the small and medium-sized companies. And as a matter of fact, if I think of on-demand fits anywhere, but it especially helps those companies that either don't have a full-time Salesforce admin, or they may have that capability in-house, but they may not have the full depth of knowledge of all of the ins and outs and intricacies and capabilities of Salesforce and its family of products like Pardot, which we also do and can deliver on demand. So as you can see, we've been doing this successfully for a long time. By the way, we have a full cadre of Salesforce-Certified professionals as well as a result of that, I should say. And we're really focused on these service areas. I'm not going to spend too much time on the ones on the left, but whether it's helping companies implement, support through our Value Wave suite of offerings, custom consulting, or now what I think of as the most innovative solution that we have, on demand. And you can see it's a growing part of our business as well. Um, so what we've seen, and probably one of the reasons that you're all here today, is that there's been an increase in the need for expertise, as I've said. As Salesforce has grown its market, grown its product suite, grown its capabilities, it's not just those things on the left that need to be done. It's things that you just need on the fly. So we created OnDemand to help that when you need particular expertise. Um, it might be that you need a particular service that you just can't do, like a trigger or a workflow you've never done before. We'll talk about that. Maybe it's just bandwidth. Maybe you have the capability in-house, but you need something quick. You've got a board of directors meeting coming up. You need a new report. The new VP of sales requires a new sales forecast that you guys have never done before. And again, you have people, but you need something quick. So it could be just a bandwidth help. You're going to find that it's on demand, right? What does that mean? Well, that means when you need it and how much you need. So it's fast, it's easy, and you're going to see that it's reasonably priced. We do everything from the simple things to the more complex. So you get to, it's the old menu, and I'm going to actually show some of that in a bit. And you get to pick what you want, and it's always available because it's online. You can buy it online. Think again of this consumerization. You can see a list of the products, you can see what they include, you can see how much they cost, and you can buy them all online. And we're going to show you that here in just a little bit. All right, so another on-demand offering, you might be saying. I think I hear a whisper. Well, let me tell you about that. There's lots of providers. I mean, the growth of Salesforce means there's lots of service providers out there today, right? And how do you choose the ones you want? Well, part of it is being Salesforce-Certified like we are, being recommended by Salesforce like we are. But it's also understanding what's the truth in the services that are being delivered. So when I take a look at the other companies out there that claim they have on-demand service offerings, we see some clear differences between what they're doing and what we're doing. Our on-demand offering is clearly defined deliverables. All right? You're going to see that in a few minutes when I show you the actual screens that you would see if you're shopping for on-demand. It doesn't require a project. We don't have to do a whole upfront due diligence. We clearly need to collect some information from you, but we do as much of that online as we can, or through chat, or through email. We have stated delivery time frames for everything. We have a firm price. You know what you're going to pay. So it's either quoted online, or for something custom, we agree for that upfront. Thirdly, no contracts. We're not trying to come in here and sell you with on-demand a big engagement. We can do that if that's what you need. And sometimes a conversation could lead to that. But if you need a report or a dashboard or an email template, we're not looking to lock you in at a long-term commitment with an hourly rate and the unknown of what's it really going to cost me long-term. And as a result, no risk. Not only do you know everything up front, but we have a satisfaction guarantee. If you're not happy, we'll keep working until you are. And those 4 things are things you don't see in the brand X, if you will, offerings. The few that do say on demand, right, they really talk about a general category. They have on-demand administration, and that's all they tell you because they want to get you on the phone and sell you more. It's an hourly rate. How many of you have heard the words, it depends? Well, of course it does depend, but we define those dependencies for you so that you know what you're getting. They'll try to sell you, of course, a services agreement. Got to sign a contract to get what they want. It's got an hourly rate attached, and they're going to upsell you. And there's a lot of risk. How long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost? How happy will you be at the end? We're there to give you the help you need when you need it at the right price. Sounds good, right? Well, how does that work? Let's talk a little bit about that. I've got some screenshots here. I thought about doing this as a live demo, but you can never really rely on technology to do exactly what you want it to do when you want it to do it. So I've gone the screenshot route instead, but you can see everything I'm talking about. We've been doing this for almost a year now. So we've got not only lots of experience under our belt, but the website has been up and running successfully. So you can go and see this for yourself. So you come to our website, accellerize360.com, right? You have some choices here. One way in the upper corner here. See where it says sign in? If you have been a customer of OnDemand before, you can sign into your account, which you had created when you checked out in the past. If not, you'd go to this services tab, and that's where you'd find OnDemand. So let's just see if you were a returning customer. this is what you would see first, right? A summary of your recent orders, as well as information, your ability to edit that information. Or you can go right ahead and continue shopping. In this case, you'll see that, well, it looks like I haven't been here for a while, over 6, 8 months, but you'll get a summary of that information. Just what you'd expect to see, right? If you were logging on to Amazon or any other kind of site where you have access to your prior orders. If you go ahead to our on-demand landing page, this is the top of the page, explains what we've got here. Again, talks about those key differentiators that we have. And then, here you go. The bottom of that same page, you don't have to click again. You're on demand, you just scroll down, and here you have the set of choices we've put on our site to offer to you today. Services that we have that you can buy as you move through the process, depending on your requirements. Full set of choices, everything from the simple, right upper left-hand corner, reports. And if you click on Get Started, which we'll do in a minute, we'll give you some more detail and choices for reports, because I don't see any prices here, you're saying. You will if you drill in. Dashboards. And then, some things of medium difficulty. Maybe things that you have an admin, you can do your own reports and dashboards. But there's things you don't do a lot of, like analytic snapshots, or workflows, or email templates, right? So things that's just a minute, we just need some expertise. And then there's things that are more complex, things that we find very few of our clients that don't have dedicated Salesforce developers really spend a lot of time working in. Things like triggers and object customization, data management. Again, all things that you can still get through on-demand from Accelerize 360. And then we have a set, and many of those, by the way, you'll see in a minute, have custom options associated with them. But then we have some services that you can buy on demand, but do are truly customization. So some of these, the ones that are custom will, of course, require us to learn some more information to give you an accurate quote. But again, we'll do that in a very interactive way. We can do that online. You can pay for it online, and we'll deliver it online. So it's still part of our on-demand services. And some of that is services around Pardot or Service Cloud, Salesforce One now, or Visual Force pages if you need those created. So, and by the way, if you don't see something here you're interested in, you came to this webinar thinking, boy, I had a question about X and I don't see it on this list. Don't worry, there is actually, I didn't capture that on my screenshot, but there is a spot to say, don't see what you need, click here. And we go to a custom screen where you can actually tell us what your needs are. And again, as I said, in an online B2C interactive way, we can collect that information and work with you to create a quote for what you need. All right, so let's drill in a little bit further. So let's say you clicked on the reports and you said see more, right? Get more information. So we take you to the on-demand reports page. Here we tell you, what reports we can do. You'll see there that you can click on overview of all reports. We talk to you about what a tabular report is. If you're not sure what you need, a summary and matrix report or a joined report. Those are the three we've split this into. And here you see examples down here. And actually, if you were to click on one of those, we'd pop up a sample. So you could actually see what that type of report is and what it might that meet your needs. So you don't have to come in knowing everything. You might just come in going, I know I need a report from Salesforce to do something for me. We'll help provide information for you right here online in the on-demand site so you can actually learn more and make a choice. So once you've decided which of those you want, we take you to, of course, what you would expect to see, right? On demand. This is where you can buy services. So here we have our standard report packages. We have the standard, $60 for a report. That's pretty reasonable. I would wager that most of the services companies out there are going to have an hourly rate higher than that. Below that, you'll see exactly what's included, as well as the ability to order now. A complex report, what's different? Well, that includes standard and custom objects and cross objects. Whereas you see on the left, it was just standard objects. So we've added a little more complexity. It costs twice as much, and it takes a little longer to deliver. And then on the far right here, we have joined reports. Those are much more complex, so they cost more. As far as definition online, for those, we obviously would need to chat with you through our chat capability, which I'll show, or have a call, but a lot of flexibility there. So again, you can pick what you need, click on it, and if you need more information, well, there's a couple of ways you can do it. At the bottom of the page, we have a list of FAQs. So you can learn more about, and many of your questions might be answered there, right? Everybody does FAQs, and it's a good, efficient way to answer the most common questions we get. Or we have an online chat capability. You can see you can click that open. We've got it manned, not 24/7, but pretty broad business hours across North America. And if we're not there, you can leave us a note and we'll get back to you pretty quickly. So there's online chat in case you just say, I don't see what I need, or can I just ask how this would work? We can work with you there as well. Once you select standard, we're working on reports now, standard, complex, or joined, now we do have to learn a little more, right? This is where we do the information gathering part of what I mentioned. And again, online, right? Consumerized. You don't have, if this is something simple or it's something defined there, you don't have to talk to us in real time. We're not going to try to upsell you to something else. We're going to learn what you need and deliver that. So on the left, here's the set of boxes we need to understand about a standard report, right? Which object you need, what report type did you pick, what filters, what rows, what columns, groupings. And I split this into two screens because it scrolls down. Filter criteria, any additional comments. If you have, for instance, an XLS, right, a spreadsheet that you've mocked up, you can also choose a file and upload it for us so we can see that and then submit that information. So what we've done is we know what you need, right, what kind of on-demand product or service, rather, you're buying, what specifics about that to help us deliver it, to enable us to deliver it you need, and then we'd move on to a checkout, which I'll show you in a few minutes. I want to take a minute here just to talk about custom, right? If you see something that either has a custom option, as you do see on the right here for triggers, we have a simple trigger, a complex trigger, and then a custom, because these can get really, really complex. We'll handle that for you too. And as a matter of fact, we'll pop open then a window. If you select custom, we'll pop open a window to gather more specifics, more about how to contact you, because that will take a more in-depth conversation. But you know that's going to happen in that case because that's a custom and we tell you that. All right, so you've picked your report, whatever kind it is, and you decide it's time to pay. Looks familiar, right? Again, consumerization of services for Salesforce. Just what you'd expect to see on a B2C site. Here's your shopping cart. You can either continue shopping or you can go ahead and pay for it. And by the way, you can pay for it in a variety of ways. We support all the standard payment methods. You can do it through a credit card, through PayPal, through electronic funds transfer, even through a purchase order, which of course then triggers an approval process on our end. But again, standard way to pay to buy those services. And if you do, here's what you get. You've checked out. Thanks for your order. Here's a summary of it, just like you'd see on Amazon or any other consumer site. And as a matter of fact, we even tell you you're going to receive 2 emails from us. And here's an example. Here's what to expect next, right? You'll receive this email that says, hey, thanks very much. We're going to contact you to get any login credentials, because if you need us to build something in your Salesforce instance, clearly we need to do that. We'll create the item and test it. And if it's a custom quote, we'll review the deliverable with you to see if it meets your needs. We'll do that in any case. But for custom quotes, it obviously takes a little longer. And then we'll interact as needed, right? We might not need, based on what you told us, any interaction, or we may have some clarification. We do that through a chat or email, call if you prefer. You really can decide your preferred interaction method. We'll keep you updated on the status if it's something that takes more than a couple of days. We may have questions or just let you know it's ready. And you might, as I said, you'll need to provide us with system credentials, maybe some follow-up information, and questions on the deliverable you receive. So we'll stay in touch during the process, and then you get your deliverable. In this case, here's a report, right? So we'll let you know that it's available in your instance. You'll get a chance to look at it. If it's something really complex, we can do it in your sandbox. You can test it there, which we'll have tested first, and then we'll move it to production for you. It really depends on what you've asked us to do. As I said, we'll work to make sure that what you get is what you needed and what you wanted. So with that, I've got, looks like about 7 minutes left here in our 30 minutes. I wanted to talk to you about some examples. So that all sounds great, right? But has anybody ever done this before? And what was their experience? So I've got 3 quick stories I want to talk about to show you that, other people have done this. It's worked for them. And, we can help you as well. So the first one I want to talk about is bigpromotions.net. This is a marketing services firm. They really do imprinted promotional products. I'm sure you have some of these in your company. You use them at shows and as giveaways for customers, etc. They were Salesforce user, of course. This is for Salesforce. And they had a challenge. They had over 4,000 opportunity records where the title of the opportunity had actually a couple of pieces of data concatenated just into that field. And so they needed for us to create a custom field, first of all, to hold when they broke that apart. And then they needed us to parse that name field into this new custom field. And the reason for that, why would they want to do that, you say? They wanted to be able to take that customer number, which was part of the opportunity name, and upload it into QuickBooks. Right? So pretty simple, but not something they had the internal expertise to do. In this case, we were able to deliver that through OnDemand. It cost them less than $200, and we did it in less than 2 days. Pretty cost effective, pretty quick, and they were able to move on with the next stage of their usage in QuickBooks and continue their integration. So very quick, very simple, very inexpensive, but solved their problem. Here's the next one. I don't know how many of you have heard of the Women's Choice Award, but it's a great way. It really helps women share their most recommended brands. So think of it sort of like Good Housekeeping seal, but this is a private type of validation for that. It's the voice of women. They're based in Miami. They were looking to have a custom HTML email templates developed for them to support their outreach. And if you think back to that screen I showed you, email templates was one of those on-demand standard options, right? And there are various flavors. So they needed help both in creating those templates, in training them on how to use them, and making sure they were deployed in their instance. We were able to do that for them for less than $500 and in less than 5 days and get them up and running, all through OnDemand. Very little required interaction, no long-term contracts, no hourly rates. They knew what they were going to pay going in. It was right there on the website and got it done in less than a week. This one was a little more complex, right? So it's small companies, yes. This is a larger company. They do outsource private equity services, and as a result, I'm not using their name because that's a pretty privacy-oriented industry. But they were they've been using Salesforce for a while, but they really needed new lead and opportunity management tools. They had brought in some new sales management and were really needed some new reports, some dashboards, and they wanted to deploy to productize their services, product forecasting against actual performance. So they needed 15 reports at the standard, 3 complex, a new dashboard widget. As I said, they needed to deploy product forecasting in both standard reports and dashboard widgets. That meant using the product object, which they weren't using it, and linking that to the opportunities themselves and how that would work. And then, as I say, the reports and dashboards to support it. And then an analytic snapshot based on a monthly performance comparison they wanted to do. We were able to do that for them for less than $4,500. Now, that's a larger price point, but it just shows that OnDemand really serves more than just doing a report or an email template, but can really do, solving a more complex problem. And this one took about 2 months. And part of the reason for that is when you have that many reports and dashboards and a new object being used, there's a lot of interaction that has to take place where they have to take a look at it, say, gee, we'd like to change this a little bit. And that also means then that we're depending on a client's timeline. So just because we have a question in the morning doesn't mean a client can answer it in the afternoon, and we understand that. So the elapsed time was about 2 months, but that could have been much shorter depending on their resource availability to respond to what we needed. So I'm getting close to the end of the time here. So you can see as a result that we have the ability to deliver what you need when you need it through a simple website interface where you can find what you need and buy it. We can then deliver it, all electronically, communicating through chat, email, phone if you'd like us to, whether it's a simple single report or a complex set of new reports and new capabilities. We said clearly defined deliverables, a firm price, no contracts, satisfaction guaranteed. You're not going to find anybody else that does that on the web, and that's why we call it true on-demand services. And for taking the time to listen to me today, and I'm going to get to a couple questions I saw come in here in a minute, I got a deal for you, right? The same thing, consumerization, got to be deals. If you go to our website and place your first on-demand order, we'll give you 20% off. Just use coupon code intro20 at checkout. You'll see a box that says, do you have any promotional codes? Put intro20 all together in there, and we'll knock 20% off your first one. So with that, let's move to a quick Q&A. Let's see what we've got going on here. Okay. It says, what quality controls do you have? Well, that's a great question, because after all, we're doing this a lot of this electronically, and you may not, if you don't have the resources internally, which is why you turn to us, you want to make sure that what you're getting isn't going to have any impact on the rest of your Salesforce system. Well, we've got standard, first of all, as I mentioned, all of the people who work on these projects are Salesforce-Certified professionals. So they've gone through all the Salesforce training and certification processes. Secondly, we have standard QA and testing regimen that we use. As you saw, we do much bigger engagements for big clients, that take many months, or in some cases even a year or more. And to support that, we have very clearly defined QA and testing procedures. We apply those same things here. So you're not going to get anything that, if you deploy a report or a dashboard or a trigger that's going to blow up something else in your Salesforce instance. We test for that before we deploy anything to you. No unintended impacts. Okay. Let's see. It says, what if I have a problem with the deliverable? Well, remember, satisfaction guaranteed. So, we'll work with you to correct any errors or deficiencies based on what you told us you needed. So, there's no point where we'll walk away and say, well, gee, I'm sorry, but you got what you got. We're going to make sure you're happy with it and that it performs as ordered. And the last one I see here is, how long will it take? Well, you saw as we were looking at those screens and pages, for each on-demand item, it showed you what the range of deliverable time frame is for that. So you know when you're ordering it. If, as a result of our conversations with you through chat, or when we review your data gathering screens and we get that back, it looks like there's something unique or that's going to take longer than the expected time that's stated in there, we'll immediately let you know. And you can decide if that's something you want to continue to move forward with or not. So no surprises. And again, since it's not being charged on an hourly rate, regardless of how long we both agree it's going to take, once we agree on that scope and what you've bought, it's not going to cost you anymore. So with that, I'm taking a look here. I don't see any other questions today. So I think we're good. I hope you learned a lot. I think this is something you're going to find is unique in the marketplace and can really help you, either solve those quick hit problems you need or provide that expertise that perhaps you just don't have today. Of course, we do offer a full range of services, as I showed you on that earlier slide, and we'd be happy to discuss those with you as well. You'll find those on our website. But when it comes to getting just what you need, when you need it, at a reasonable price, on-demand services from Accelerize 360 for Salesforce will do it for you. So again, this has been recorded. We'll let you know where it is. Thank you so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Goodbye.